Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, senior Lakers insider, as well as lead Lakers content creator over at Offside, joined by my Offside colleague, Raj Shapalu. Raj, we probably could have done our Offside recaps at the end of the first quarter.
Sure. Yeah, this game was over right away, which is nice. Change of pace. And it's funny because on the Spectrum broadcast, you could still hear Billy and Stu. They've been so traumatized. Like, oh, it's cut down to 28. It's like, we'll be okay. We'll be all right. We'll be okay.
It was so refreshing, too, because it was garbage minutes and the Lakers still had like a professional lineup out there still. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Today on the show, we'll be talking a little bit about that game. There was, I do believe, some important aspects of that game to kind of keep an eye on moving forward, namely Austin Reaves making his return and the potential rotation with him in it. So we will discuss that and some of the things that we saw from this game. We will discuss. Let's see. So since you and I have spoken, James Harden is now a Cleveland Cavalier. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a Utah Jazz. And the Bulls have all the guards. And I think that's where things stand for the most part.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Timberwolves seem to make like the move before the move, which had me kind of wondering if the Giannis stuff was going to come to a head, but it did not over the course of today. So
They are the originator of the windy, like, why did they do that? Right. That was the Gobert trade that I believe. I forgot what was the
I think it was like the Jazz did something, but Gobert wound up traded to the Wolves.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we will talk about some of those moves, and we will talk about where the Lakers stand now as a result of some of those moves. And then a little bit later in the show, I'm going to bring on, as promised yesterday, Yossi Gozlan to come on here and talk us through some of this salary cap approach that the Lakers are taking for next season, and see if he can clear up some aspects of that stuff. So we have a lot to get to. Obviously, right before we went live, Mark Stein dropped a bit of a nugget on Giannis as it pertains to the Lakers. But if you've been following my offside content, you would have heard all of what he reported just there. But no, it does mean a little bit more if it comes from like a Mark Stein than if it comes from me. But it does, like the Lakers have been pretty adamant on the Giannis front that if he gets past the deadline, they feel fairly confident in their chances at landing him. So a lot, like I said, that we have to get to. A quick reminder, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button. This time of year is when you want to turn on those notifications for the channel as well. And then also from a podcasting standpoint, if you guys are listening to this in the morning, please hit subscribe wherever it is that you get your podcast, preferably on Odyssey, but I do not care where you get the show from, so long as you're subscribed and rating and reviewing and all of that good stuff. And let's go ahead and jump on in. So the final in Brooklyn was 125 to 109, and it was not nearly that close. The Lakers kind of started letting go of the rope and easing off into the end of this arduous road trip that they have been on about, towards the end of the second quarter, and then for most of the third quarter, and then the fourth quarter was just kind of garbage time. But in this game, I thought, obviously the story is Austin Reaves coming back. But one thing that really struck me, Raj, and you're catching some shit for pointing this out on Twitter.
Yeah.
But LeBron had like a real like extra like pep in his step in this game. He's leaking out every chance that he could. Bunch of like, a bunch of leak out dunks and alley-oop attempts and off the backboard dunk from Austin.
Yeah.
And I think what you were trying to say essentially was that like LeBron was not in this physical shape
No.
back when Austin, was healthy. And then he's gotten into better shape and his legs have gotten underneath him over the course of Austin's absence. So it was nice that Austin or LeBron being in this kind of shape is now overlapping with Austin's availability.
100%. I don't know why that was controversial at all. I mean, LeBron was
People just
not
look for reasons to get angry
right.
at people.
LeBron was not catching passes off the backboard. He was not, his head wasn't meeting the rim like this. His, the amount of drives he was doing per game, his offensive rhythm was just not in a place where it is now. And I think what you're seeing, this has a domino effect to me where I've been kind of, I had a huge billboard in my hands going like, can we wait to see this team with Austin Reaves back, please, before we completely throw this season away? And I think one of the things you're seeing is that with Austin back, it just levels the amount of playmaking responsibility for everybody, right? And it pushes guys like Gabe Vincent from running 3 to 5 pick and rolls to a game to 0. Like there's just no need for Gabe to bring the ball up and run the.
There's no need for Gabe.
I mean, he's gonna be in the he's gonna be in the rotation. He's gonna play. In any case, Marcus Smart, the amount of roller coaster drives he has goes way down again because he's just not in a position where he needs to be the one penetrating the defense first, right? So he gets to attack and already compromise defense. And AR only played 15 or 20 minutes in this one, but I thought again you just saw like Luka's shot selection, gets a little bit better because he doesn't have to hold the ball for, as much time. And on those second units, I think you really see it. There was a play that I highlighted online where Luka got blitzed at half court and the ball got to Rui, it got to Jackson and hit Austin in the corner. And that's usually Gabe or Smart or whoever else you want to put there, Nick Smith Jr., whoever you want to put there. Said that's Austin Reaves attacking you, and he got to the rim and got a finish that he thought was an and one. But yeah, I think you're just seeing. I'm so excited to see what these three look like. Austin looks much better than I thought he would. Game one, his threes didn't go in the way I'm sure he wanted to, but I thought he was moving really well. His just timing was in a position that I didn't think it would be game one. But yeah, I'm excited to see what these three look like when all three are in some mid-season form.
We even got today I think it was LeBron Ayton, or maybe it was Luka Ayton pick and roll with Austin in the far corner. And then Ayton in the short roll hit Austin in that opposite side corner for a wide open three.
Yeah.
And I was like, there it is. That's the juice, right? That's what we've been looking for. And to think that at some point we might actually get like a Luka LeBron pick and roll where LeBron is in the short roll and Austin is on the far weak side. That's pretty exciting to consider as well. But no, I think, and look, obviously people in the chat are going to say this, and I think it's worth pointing out. Brooklyn is terrible, awful basketball team, intentionally awful basketball team. I think it's worth noting. Did you see the quote that Jordi Fernandez had before the game?
I did not, but he's been awesome for them. I've loved the culture that he set. But what did he say pregame?
He was like, they were like, is one of their players going to be on a minutes restriction? And he was like, it's between him and another guy who's going to be on a minutes restriction. And it was like, I wonder what would go into that decision. Like, which guy is playing better? Like, that guy needs to have his minutes limited. Yeah. But yeah, no, I completely agree about like what he's done for them. And I think if anything, he may have been like too good for them at various points, like while they've been trying to tank, which I think is a problem that you live with. But yeah, I really like, to me, you talk about leveling off the amount of creativity that is needed, throughout the Lakers rotation with Austin coming back. To me, it's about leveling out just overall minute to minute what they look like, right? Because like while they had just LeBron and Luka, you had some really high highs, but you also had some extremely low lows. And I think by having a third creator there, you balance that out, you level that out to a greater extent so that, and by the way, you also don't necessarily mess with how high the highs can get, right? If anything, you increase the highs and you raise the floor, And now all of a sudden the Lakers, like when they were at their best, basically right before Austin got hurt, they would go at teams offensively in waves, to where
Sure.
you had, the start. I can't wait to see what the starters look like, with it looks like it's going to be Marcus Smart. We'll see. JJ Redick played that kind of coy after the game, but I can't wait to see what this starting group looks like. And then you get to stagger one of LeBron, Luka, or Austin, or two of LeBron, Luka, or Austin, and they get to go up against bench lineups. Like, that just feels unfair. And if the Lakers could figure out a way to maximize those minutes, I think that could be a huge advantage that they can kind of go to consistently.
Yeah, and I think Luca can take all the usage and he'll gladly take it, right? Those aren't really the units that you're super concerned with. He can floor raise those. LeBron can as well, but you just don't want that on his plate night to night. And again, just putting Austin out there with LeBron next to Ayton, those second units get such a jump. The jump from Gabe to Austin is just, in terms of playmaking, offensive skill, how he's guarded, it's just, you can't even quantify in terms of how those two guys are different. And again, I think now those three get to kind of gel in a way that I thought they weren't able to, because I don't think LeBron kind of was at that level. And the Lakers' depth obviously gets attacked, and I'm not saying they shouldn't make a trade, but I do think you see when you put guys in roles where it's, they have to do a little bit less, but what they're good at shines. And obviously against the Nets, it's tough to gauge. I will say with Brooklyn, like, they are a team that plays hard nightly. Like, they've gotten some wins against teams who've taken them lightly. I'm not saying that should, credit the Lakers for beating them how much they did, but the Nets aren't a team that like rolls over many times, right? They've struggled lately, but they're a team that really does play hard. And again, I like Jordy Fernandez a lot. You talked about he might be too good for them. I mean, that's true. He was getting wins when they were trying to tank for a lot of this season. But yeah, I think this is a take care of business type of win. They've had a few of those now, this one and in Washington. And again, they played the most road games in the league, without their big three really with all season. Played 29 out of their 49 games on the road. A lot of home games coming up. I think they said 15 out of the next 18 are at home. It's a really nice stretch to try to, get some space in the Western Conference, and we'll see what happens in the deadline. But this is just a very solid win, and I just love what I saw tonight from healthy, kind of healthy Austin with LeBron and Luka in midseason form. And I think you got a little bit of the potential that we can see.
They do have home games, but they are tougher games.
A little tougher games, yeah.
So we'll see how they navigate this next stretch, because it is significantly tougher than most of the stretches they've had so far this season. Let's really quickly, before we throw it to Yossi, I want to talk about that starting group at the beginning of the third quarter. Really quick aside, I love how coaches, like how they feel like they are protecting the nuclear codes with decisions that they eventually have to make about their starting lineups. Like, do you think whoever they play, I think, who do they play next? Philly. Philly. They play Philly on Thursday night, right? At home. Do you think, like, Nick Nurse, if he guesses wrong between Marcus Smart and Jake LaRavia, will just be like, that's it, I quit. We can't even, what do I even do to adjust to Jake LaRavia? Like it's just so silly how, like, these coaches are, and I get it, it's their jobs, and know, I've also thought that, like, it's a little bit of the fun that they can possibly have with the media, right? Is
absolutely,
like, they can, they enjoy the notion that, like, we're sitting here like, come on, just say it, but
yeah.
But for some reason, they, so the start of the third quarter, you have the lineup of Austin, Luka, LeBron, Ayton, and Smart. And obviously we've been going back and forth on, should it be Smart, should it be LaRavia? I think there were points to make for either one of those two choices. I also kind of chuckled at the end of the second quarter when the Lakers probably looked their worst of the night was with the original starting lineup.
It's like, he's like, we're up 28. Like, let me fix the net rating of this unit a little bit. And they went out and they didn't score for 4 minutes, Anthony. They had 68, I think, when that lineup walked in, and
Yeah.
they finished the half with like 69. Yeah, that lineup is just too slow, too plotting, and yeah, it has shown that it has not worked this season.
It's amazing. The start of the third quarter, what'd you think of that lineup? What'd you think of how they looked? What do you think if that is the eventual decision that gets made? Would you agree with it?
I feel like, if Smart's healthy, that's been my caveat for all of this, then I think that's your best five in terms of fit, needs. And again, I think it pushes Smart down, a tier of offensive responsibility that puts him to me in the best kind of position. And he brings this defensive intensity. I like the lineup. He's also, I like that he takes open threes. Like he's not scared to shoot if teams leave him open. And I think he's been a good fit. I wouldn't mind Laravia either. I think Laravia brings some size, some rebounding, some kind of quick twitch stuff that lineup also can use. But either of those guys, to me, I would be fine with. It feels like it's going to be Smart, and I think you said it. JJ kind of played his hand there. I'd be surprised if that wasn't the starting lineup on Thursday in Philly against Philly at home. But at least it feels like Rui has, his seat on the bench is now permanent. And I think it's a really nice spot for him. Like I think he's found rhythm with it. He's getting shots in places. People think of it as just shot attempts, right? But I think also for a player like him who feels himself that he's an offensive, like he's a guy that you can run offense through in different places. I like that he's getting shots in the post. He's coming off screens. He can attack the basket. He's getting fouled. Like that stuff to me, I think keeps him in a better rhythm than just standing in the corner waiting for the ball to shoot, 5 threes a game that you've mentioned. If you're taking 4 to 5 threes a game, hitting that 40%, how actually productive are you doing that? Versus now he's coming off the bench and getting shots in different places. And I think boosting a second unit that, the worst bench in the league, up to a certain point, he gets to
Offensively,
boost
for
that
sure. I guess
offensively.
overall too, but offensively for sure.
Yeah. So I like this, new role for him. And I think it just fits the team, so much better.
Yeah, I just think Rui's kind of engagement level and energy level has always been kind of dictated by his offensive rhythm. And if he is in a more consistent offensive rhythm coming off of the bench, like he had that one play today where he got kind of caught up with
I think it was
Clowney, Noah
Clowney.
Clowney.
Yes. Yes.
And it was just like I don't recall too many moments like that, with Rui over the course of his Lakers tenure.
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked the fire. I liked it.
Yeah.
Like Clowney thought about it and he was like, damn, this dude's strong.
Rui's like, do you think I would purposely do that? Like I barely hustle, in my like you think I'm like trying to really, put any extra effort into this, but they were down 20 something. So
It looked like Clowney going because he kind of like went over Rui's
right.
back, right? And he was kind of like scratching at his back. And it just really reminded me the first time my little brother really kind of tested me. I'm like 6.5 years older than my middle brother, and I'm like 13 years older than my youngest. So my youngest brother never really messed with me too much. It was too big of an age gap there. And he's like honestly the most laid back human being who has ever existed. But
Mhm.
my middle brother was a lot more fiery, and at one point he did really kind of like test me or whatever. And it was very clear he had never been in any kind of fight or any kind of physical engagement at all, like ever.
Sure.
And I just it's like I was looking at like what are you doing with your hands? And that's what it looked like when Noah Clowney was like trying to like go over the top of Rui's back. And I just looked at him, was like, have you ever fought before? Like, do you know what?
That was funny because if you watch Rui, he's like, he's like trying to look at the call. Then like 10 seconds later, he realized what happened. He's like, starts laughing. He's like, oh, you were
Oh,
upset.
you were
Well,
trying? He's like, dang, that massage felt. Wait, that was a fight? Oh, how about that?
oh man.
So that was a funny moment or whatever. But yeah, I love Rui's engagement level coming off of the bench. And honestly, like kudos to Rui for maintaining that engagement level coming off of the bench. I think that's really important for him, not only, in his time with the Lakers, but just overall as an NBA player, that openness to either the starting or bench role. So I think that's been really good. Thought it was interesting in the second half that the first sub off of the bench was actually Jake, not Rui. after Marcus started. What do you think of that potential decision, or do you think that'll be like a matchup dependent thing?
Yeah, I think that's a matchup dependent thing. I think Gabe also was one of the first,
Yeah,
players
but I
off the
think that was
bench.
I fucking hope that was an Austin minutes restriction thing.
I feel like that was just let me piss off everyone one more time. Just but
It's
no.
just like,
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Again, like I think that will be played by ear, but I think as long as Rui feels like the sixth man on the team now, like you were kind of upset at the lineup, or we were talking about the lineup to close the second quarter, but feels like Rui's going to get his 20 and 25 minutes in different spots. Laravia, Smart, Gabe, all those guys going to come in at different spots. I don't think they have really timed rotations. It's whenever LeBron needs his break, or are they going to a LeBron Austin lineup? Are they going to a Luca LeBron lineup? I think those kind of dictate. It's something that did stand out to me, Anthony, is how important Jackson has become. Like it was funny how before this season it was kind of like, are they going to bring Jackson back? Or Jackson is a pivotal like piece in a
he's
lot of
improved to his credit too.
he's gotten better, but like his athleticism at the center spot is so vital for so many things we do, and it's very clear Luca loves playing with that guy. Like
Mhm.
watch him, he loves throwing lobs, and Jackson is the one guy on the center spot that can jump up. He's learned not to throw them to Vando. He's like, Vando, I'm gonna throw you passes that catch it in your hand. Like you're gonna catch it in your hand, and then be able to dribble and score with it. I'm not throwing you lobs. But Jackson, he could throw pretty much anywhere. And you're right, Jackson's gotten better. I think even on the defensive end, his engagement on that end, I think has improved. And he's just finding his spots. And he's become a short role player in a way that I didn't really foresee. Like he's hitting guys in the corner. He's making the right read. He's finding the baseline cutter. Like he's just become an important piece. And he's a super athlete anyway. On a team with not many athletes, he sticks out.
Yeah, we obviously we're playing the Nets there, and
Sure.
Day'Ron Sharp is a guy that like seemingly every year there's a clamoring for Day'Ron Sharp to the Lakers. And I was watching and I was like, I still really, really like Day'Ron. And honestly, if Jackson was just like I think right now Jackson is like, in 2K, I don't know what he's actually rated at, but he's like a 70, I would say
Yeah,
probably,
around there.
and if Jackson instead of being a 70 was like an 85, like capable of being even a lower level starter, I think Sharp would make a lot of sense for the Lakers, but I don't think Jackson is there, and I don't think Sharp is quite at starter caliber right now either. Um, and it was just like, yeah, the Lakers could acquire Sharp, but I don't know how you would work that out rotation wise, because I don't think either of those guys could step into the role that Aiton is playing, and I don't think you want like you'd be wasting one of Jackson or Sharp in a three big rotation when JJ doesn't play two bigs together.
Yeah, Sharp is a different archetype than either of those two. I'm with you. I don't know how you fit all three together, but Sharp is more of a bruiser type. I think it
Yeah,
feels like he got every offensive rebound in this game. He was dominant on that end.
he
He's not
had so this is you don't normally see this, Raj. He
okay.
had 14 rebounds in the game,
Uh-huh.
four defensive rebounds,
He had 10 offensive rebounds.
10 offensive
It's
rebounds.
that's ridiculous. And
I
the
like
first
it's I think like from like a standpoint of we'll talk about like the direction that the Lakers are taking their roster and stuff like that a little bit
yeah,
later in the show. But I think it's a worthwhile gamble on Sharp to see if because his like per 36 impact numbers are
they're
fucking
insane.
insane.
They're insane.
They're ridiculous. And if they scale up, you have a legitimate like 85 rating center that we were just kind of talking about. I don't know that they would actually scale up, and that would be the gamble. But given where the Lakers are right now, I think it's a gamble that I would be willing to make. Now, there was some talk that the Nets are kind of looking for like a first rounder, even if it's a protected one for Sharp. And I don't think I would give up a first rounder for a gamble like Sharp. But still, I think he's really, really good. And the decision to bring in Shake Milton last year in the DFS trade and not Sharp hasn't aged
Yeah,
particularly well.
Yeah, and his contract is so good. I just don't know how you steal him from Brooklyn. He has a team option for like 6.5 million next year. He's gonna far outkick that, I feel like. But what I was gonna say was he reminds me a lot of not the same type of player, but the way that Rockets kind of use Steven Adams, where just we're gonna be a bully ball team for this
Yeah.
lineup, and Sharp fits that perfectly. He's improved offensively as well. But yeah, I just don't know how you steal him from the Nets with that nice of a contract, at like 6.5 million on a team option. That's just a ridiculous. And so it's a high value contract that you'd have to offer value to get. And it's very
Yeah.
clear the Lakers aren't offering much value in any of the deals
In
that are
any
proposed.
circumstance right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk about why in a bit here, as soon as Yossi hops on. Any reaction, Raj, to the deals that were made across the league?
Yeah. I thought the
You had
Harden.
the Harden deal, where he and Darius Garland get swapped. Actually, the Cavs had to include a second rounder to get Harden, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Given that Garland is like what 6 years younger than
10 years
Harden.
younger.
What's that?
He's 10 years younger.
10 years younger. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's aged as if he was 36 years old,
Yeah, that's a
Garland
good
has.
way to
But
put it. Yes.
but I still
26
thought it
going
was
on
interesting
30.
that you get the younger player and you got a second rounder for taking on the younger player. Also in the news was Jaren Jackson Jr. being moved. He goes to the Utah Jazz for a whole bunch of shit and some mid-tier picks, I would say.
Yeah.
The Jazz have an interesting front court now where
It's a good way to
I
put
think
it.
Walker Kessler is a perfect big for Jaren Jackson Jr., but I don't know where that leaves Lauri Markkanen, because you have Markkanen, who's probably more of a 4 than a 3, and you have Jaren Jackson Jr., who's probably more of a 4 than a 5. So your two most expensive players are now playing the same position, and that gets kind of tricky pretty quickly. So I think eventually Laurie gets sent somewhere else at some point. But yeah, what'd you think of both of those moves?
Yeah, the Utah one feels like, I don't know, just trying to, zig while the league is zagging and going way too far on it. I don't understand it at all. I didn't think Jaren's value or, was 3 first rounders plus. I think they just took Walter Clayton in the last season, right? I think Walter Clayton was a
Yeah.
recent pick for them as well. So gave up a lot of young, you know, pieces plus picks that weren't theirs. So they had, a surplus of, but I just didn't understand this deal. I understand the theoretical fit of Laurie, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Kessler. I don't like it in reality. It's just not enough ball handling to me. It's too much size without movement. Like both Jaren's a fine defender. He won the defensive player of the year, but I don't know. It's a wonky fit to me. I don't really know what Utah's doing. They just feel like they have a can that they kick and then they get to the can and they're like, let's kick it one more time. And they just kick it again. And they just, there's just no pressure to win still because you just said it perfectly. I think Laurie gets moved again. It's okay. Then you again move your team towards, your contention window. The Harden Garland one is super fascinating to me. It's a side note, but I'm not a big trade guy. I just don't know any other sport to where one little rumor wakes up an entire community. Like it was 10 or 9 p.m. The Harden Garland news started to sprinkle through, and you could just sense the whole NBA Twitter community go, "Oh," and
Yeah.
everyone's online. I think that's a really beautiful thing about the NBA. I think they lose some of the war of the sport in terms of loving the product in a way, but yeah, I think that's so interesting. The Cavs must know something. I mean, to trade an all-star guard 10 years younger for as good as Harden is now, I think that's interesting. I know the second apron stuff. Yossi can kind of get into that, but I think Harden's obviously better than Garland. I think they're the best team in the East. Like Harden and Mitchell with right now Mobley and Allen. We'll see if any of those, if another move is made, but at least for now, that is a filthy starting lineup. And to me, the best part of this, like Mitchell's best seasons to me are when he has a point guard next to him. Like when he was next to Mike Conley, I thought that was his best. When Garland was Garland, I thought that was at his best. And now he gets to again move to the shooting guard, quote unquote, position where he gets to just focus on being one of the most dangerous scorers in basketball and doesn't have to worry at all about the playmaking, doesn't have to worry about getting Jared Allen shots, getting Mobley shots, getting Dean Wade shots. He can just go get buckets and leave that all to Harden, who will happily, eat that playmaking responsibility. So I love it for the Cavs. Also added Keon Ellis. Dennis Schroeder, we'll see if he plays. But I love what they've done. The Garland thing is so fascinating. They must have gotten to a real point and just said, this is, untenable. We have to move him now for, Harden and compete.
Well, I think it's like we've seen the impact of not having, because Mitchell is more of a scorer than he is a facilitator.
Yeah,
and
sure.
and I think that's impacted everybody on that roster. So they were like, we can't not have our main creator off of the court more frequently than he is on. And the one thing you could say about Harden is that he's typically very available,
Right.
both in the sense of like trades and stuff like that, but also like as a night to night basis.
Yeah.
All right, let's welcome in our second guest here, Yossi Gozlan of the Third Apron. Yossi is the cap guy. Like if I have a cap question, I bug him a lot about, and eventually it's just like, you know what, dude, can you just come on the show? Yossi, this is the most, the busiest time of your year. So I greatly appreciate you hopping on here on short notice.
Yeah, of course. No, thanks for having me on, Raj. It's good to chat with you for the first time.
I've told Yossi this offline, so before we start, I think the Third Apron is the best name like for someone in terms of what they do. That it's just an incredible name. So I've told them offline, but I'll say it.
Thank you.
Well.
Yeah.
You guys got to find his stuff. It's very informative, but it's also like not as dry as that information can get. And so he has a great show also with Sam Quinn of CBS Sports. Their podcast together is also really good. And it's one of those shows that like if one of them throw out one of those fake trades, you kind of find yourself wondering like, is that fake or did it come from somewhere?
Yeah.
So
what do they know?
yeah. So it's if you want like that kind of content, and I don't know why you wouldn't want that kind of content, that's one of those shows that you guys got to tune into. Yossi, thanks very much for hopping on, bud. I want to start with the conversation that we were just having about Jaren Jackson Jr. and the James Harden trade. And I want to start with Jaren because I think it's noteworthy that the Jazz traded away the picks that aren't their own, that aren't in their own control. I think that is going to become a trend here moving forward. But I also thought it was interesting that the picks that they sent out for Jaren Jackson Jr. really aren't that good. Like they're from drafts that aren't slated to be particularly fruitful. It's not the pick that they have this year. I also think it's interesting that they didn't send out the pick that they have this year, given that Jaren is probably going to help them win some games. And that pick is at risk of going somewhere else if they are just a little too good. What'd you think of the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade?
I actually like it better for the Grizzlies. Normally, whenever a player gets traded for multiple firsts, historically, the team getting the first does better. And it's not like when KD got traded for 4 firsts, like he's a top 5 to 10-ish player in the league. Like he's one of the best players presently. Jaren was like last year, like a top 30-ish player. And this year he's dropped off from that. I think he'll be better, but I actually think those picks aren't that bad. I like the Suns pick in 2031. Like the Suns, they're playing well right now. It's a lot of like, getting some good, just getting a lot of more out of their role players and good coaching, but they really don't have much upside. They're going to have a hard time improving the team going forward. So I do think I still a believer that these Suns picks are going to be valuable. And then, the Lakers
likes to go for broke. So you always want like a couple of picks or a couple of lottery tickets from an owner who just can't help himself.
Yeah, no, like you never know what kind of move they might make to try to push things a little bit. And like the KD trade, like the Beal trade, it might backfire. The Lakers pick is whatever. That one probably won't be anything super high. And then the one that they trade for next year, it's the greater of theirs, Wolves, Cavs. that one has a chance to maybe be like late lottery. Like there's a lot of variance there. Maybe one of these teams fall off. Maybe the Jazz don't do quite well enough. So I think they got pretty solid value. I would say that the Jazz, they're not a destination team. They're not really in a position where they could pick who their all-stars are. So they got the best guy they can get. So it's not like I don't he's between him and Lowry, they're both going to be making like max level money. They're going to be each making the same amount of money, like $50 million plus a year. Like those guys, they're as good as they are. Those contracts are still kind of questionable. So that was their big acquisition. I like the team though. I really like Keontae George. I think he's going to be an all-star. I think Ace Bailey is going to pan out. And between that starting five with Kessler and whoever they get with a top 5 pick, it's time. I think they're going to make the play-in next year. They're going to be pretty good. So they traded what they had to get the best guy that is available to them. But I'm coming out of this thinking like Memphis got a ton of value for another one of their players, probably more value than they should, especially given the contract. They have 12 first-round picks. Like other than OKC, I don't know if there's another organization I trust more with having that many draft picks than Memphis. So I think they're going to find a lot of good players in the next few years, and they'll probably use this surplus of picks to get more valuable draft picks, try to get as high in the lottery as they can to find their next A1 star, because this year ended because Jaws no longer or never really quite was the best guy you can have on a good playoff team. But once they really came to that realization, it was just time to move on. And now they got to find that next better player.
Yeah, I agree on the draft pick front, because they are actually excellent at draft scouting and drafting players and developing them. So like, giving that aspect of their organization some bites at the apple is good. I also think, Raj, you're gonna like this analogy. Ripping the Band-Aid on Jaren Jackson Jr. is
Yes.
It's wise. They're bleeding a little bit, but I think they're in a better spot rather than waiting this out the way that they had with Morant. They were just like, you know what, 3 first-round picks from an organization that loves the tank nowadays. Sure, why not? Or not from an organization that, but like an organization we're not too worried about. Whatever.
Jaren has a player option for I think 54 million or something in 29-30, right? I'm shocked that he went for what he did. I know you mentioned kind of the basketball fit in Utah. I'm just not buying those 3 as the future, kind of centerpiece. Laurie, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Kessler. Was this move for Utah at all? Do you think makes any of those other guys available, especially, from a Lakers standpoint of view? Does that make Kessler at all, you think, maybe not available?
They're going to say no, but
going for, yeah, the sourcing, all that's coming out, the news that's coming out is they're excited to see those 3 play. I'm skeptical that works basketball wise. That's just not enough ball handling to me. And all 3 of those guys are a little bit slow footed on the defensive end. But, just was any of this, because I just can't imagine Utah went and looked and Jaren Jackson Jr. is our next championship piece. It just doesn't really match how Jaren has plays, as you have mentioned recently. Just any part of Utah doing this for, future, salary moves.
I don't think this is making anyone else available in the near term. Right now, they're probably not going to play any of their top guys. They're going to keep that pick. As long as they stay in the bottom 6, they're all but guaranteed to keep their pick this year. Then next year, you'll see things out, how they go. And even if they don't play as well as they hope, I'm sure they're going to give it a little bit more time. I agree with you that I don't know if they put this team together thinking this is going to be a like a real championship contender. I just think, one, it's time that they make the next step. They've been in the lottery for too long. Yeah. And thankfully now with the development of Keontae George, I think that's the big thing. And I think like a firm belief that Ace will be at least not, even if he doesn't pan out to be like an all NBA player or even an all-star, I think he should be pretty good. I think they've got enough between everyone they have and their pick to move forward. I'd agree. I don't think there's like a very high championship ceiling on this team, like anything close to it, unless Ace Bailey becomes their best player. Like if he can really be that ceiling raiser, or if they luck into a top 3 pick and that guy could be that player. I don't think anyone else really has it in them to raise a ceiling to that level. Um, so I think they're going to give it a go and just see how this team looks. And if things don't quite work out as they want, maybe 2 years from now, Lowry could be available, or maybe Jaren could be flipped again.
Yeah, I don't think it'd take 2 years. Like, I don't know. Like, if they walk away with like Darren Peterson, and now all of a sudden you have like a potential lineup of Keontae George,
Peters,
Peterson, Ace Bailey, and then Jaren Jackson Jr. and Walker Kessler. That's a fun lineup. It's not like a championship contender. I don't think you want both of like Laurie's contract and Jaren's contract on your books for very long. Given that they play the same position. So I think I would make a guess, not this is purely speculative, but I would make a guess that sometime over the next year or so, we get some. It might be Jaren again, but one of those two guys, Jaren Jackson Jr. or Lauri Markkanen, are made available because, they play the same spot. Actually, I think the Warriors, if this doesn't work out here with Giannis, I think we'll start to hear more of that Lauri Warriors stuff all over again. Speaking of Giannis, we got a report here from Mark Stein right before we went live. I will read the tidbit that I think Lakers fans are going to be most interested in. Quote, no one is talking about the Lakers as a factor in the Giannis sweepstakes right now because they're not a factor if a trade is going to happen by week's end. They don't have enough tradable assets to join the in-season bidders. But if the Bucks do ultimately decide to take this saga into spring, the Lakers, league sources say, would then indeed become a very viable threat to land number 34. There is little choice for the Lakers heading into Thursday's deadline except to stay patient and avoid deals that involve any long-term salary to maintain maximum flexibility for the spring. The hope for the purple and gold would then be to use their considerable projected salary cap space to be able to take in a contract like Antetokounmpo's via trade or another expensive star if one shakes loose post playoffs. Another scenario to keep an eye on here is even if they don't get Giannis, the idea that they might actually, like if a Knicks wing is traded or if Minnesota's Jaden McDaniels is eventually traded, I think the Lakers would be looking to land one of those guys to pair with backcourt cornerstones Luka Doncic and Austin Reaves. So Yossi, you and I were texting last night, just really briefly, and I'm still not like I understand. Like I was one of the people who were saying, "Hey, the Lakers feel like they are being undersold as a Giannis destination eventually." But even still, even while the Lakers are kind of telling me this and signaling that, I'm still sitting here like I just don't really love the idea of like cap space being the go-to arrow in your quiver. So just like if you can try to explain or explain what the Lakers are talking about here with the ways that the different ways that they think they can leverage cap space next season and specifically the amount of cap space they have. We always hear this figure of $55-ish million, but I don't necessarily know if that's the figure that we should be using.
With cap space, I think the Lakers are kind of in the same boat as the Heat in terms of how they would use it to potentially want to get Giannis, where for Giannis, his preference are going to matter. If he's going to say he wants to go to the Heat or the Lakers, that actually could help their leverage because he could sign with them outright in 2027. So that's probably why the Heat have
that the Lakers are on his list, that like he would extend with them if they traded for him.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Giannis might not be like too picky. Like the Warriors, for example, who they're being touted as the team that can make the best offer right now ahead of the trade deadline because their offer is not going to get better in the offseason. They're older, and if I was Giannis, I probably wouldn't want to extend their long term. But I could at the same time, they're the Warriors. Like I kind of have a hard time seeing him not sign some sort of extension with them. So you could make that same type of argument with the Lakers, obviously the Knicks, who are his top preference. So that's the hope if you're the Lakers, that one, Giannis doesn't get traded right now, and then you get to the offseason, then they're kind of a little more in the mix because they can trade those 3 first-round picks. Maybe they can do some type of trade that gets them more if they want to break up a first-round pick in the more. I don't think they'd have the best offer still, but maybe if the idea is if Giannis likes the Lakers enough, then that could leverage something, kind of like what De'Aaron Fox did with going to the Spurs. He pretty much made it known to the Kings, hey, I'm just going to leave you in 2026, and the Spurs have cap space. Send me there now, or I'm just going to walk. So that's really all the leverage is. And look, now you're seeing Utah. They were going to have major cap space this summer. They just went ahead and made their big move for Jaren. There wasn't anyone going to be better than Jaren available. Same thing with Darius Garland and the Clippers. Like, well, we don't know like exactly how this was initiated. I'd love to know if the Cavs approached the Clippers first, if the Clippers approached the Cavs first. But I love this deal for the Clippers, getting 10 years younger. Same thing. The Clippers probably weren't going to get a better player than Darius Garland to reset their clock like this. So the hope is that the Lakers can get, whether it's a superstar like Giannis or just some other really high level quality players, they can use their cap space to try to leverage trade earlier, because that's all cap space is really good for now. You rarely see a all-star player leave in free agency. Teams don't let that happen. They want to get something for them in a trade before they can walk.
Yeah, the Harden thing is interesting because like the reason that the Cavs were even in the market is because they flame out every year in the postseason. So you go out and get somebody who's known for flaming out. That makes me a little nervous. But also from the Cavs standpoint, it's like we need an engine that we can rely on to actually run our offense and set guys up throughout our roster. Jared Allen needs somebody who can throw lobs consistently. I actually would have liked to seen the Cavs with DeAndre Hunter if they were going to make the Harden trade anyway. Like I think that would have been, because Hunter has, I think, very clearly missed Garland over the course of the year. From the Clippers standpoint, I actually kind of like that they were like, look, this like 16-4 run that we've been on, we know it's just fool's gold. So fare thee well, James.
Yeah. Even if they make the playoff, not advancing. So I think this was a cash out on Harden.
Look, the Garland thing, I'd be a little nervous with Garland and his foot problems and all the other problems that he's had. But the Clippers are one of those teams, and Ballmer is one of those owners who spend enough organizationally that they think they might be able to resuscitate Garland's career, and I think that's an interesting bet for them to make. I want to like go back to the Lakers thing, Raj, and so it's this weird balance we kind of have to strike of, all right, I hear the Lakers plan. I know what they're trying to sell to fans. I think some of it is getting out ahead of a very quiet deadline from a spin perspective. The cynic in me is like, oh, cool. Yeah, I've heard this song for the last 5 years. So, and yet this is like the one situation with it being a player of Giannis's caliber who is going to be, it seems like is going to be available, this upcoming summer. I wouldn't be shocked, but I would be fairly surprised if Giannis was traded over the next, 36 hours, whatever the number of time, the amount of time that we have. And so like, if you're the Lakers, and if there isn't anything that you feel can make you a legit contender this year, then you may as well wait for Giannis. But like, even having said that, I understand my fans are like, I've heard that, I've watched this movie. I've been here. I've been in my seat for the last 5 years. You guys waited and wasted basically the AD LeBron era, the back half of it. And now you have Luka, who just won Player of the Month, and Luka's leading the league in scoring, is just dominating opposing defenses basically at will. and the idea that you're essentially going to punt this season, that also wouldn't really necessarily fit well with me. So, like, of the people that are in this episode, you being kind of the closest to a fan still, where do you sit on this approach that they're taking?
First, I just can't imagine the amount of pitchforks that come out if the Lakers get Luka Doncic, a year ago, and then in 3 months, Giannis Antetokounmpo says, "I only want to go to the Lakers," and they somehow, Yossi, you kind of outlined the trade, but even when you write that trade down, it just does not
I
feel
just don't know how
right.
John Horst goes back
Like,
to his fan base. He's like, guess what, everybody?
so
I
yeah,
know
and
we
so
can-
here's right. We got 3 Laker Giannis first, and Dalton Connect, Edu Tierra, or whatever, or maybe nothing. Right? The conversation is also just having Giannis traded into their cap space. So you can confirm if that's actually doable or not in terms of what they have available. But
Yeah,
you said something that
does that math even work, Yossi?
Like this summer to just absorb him.
Yeah.
with
They'd
Austin's
be
cap
pretty.
hold.
So Laker on capsheets.com, I've got them it's listed as 55 million in cap space, but I need to make an adjustment because with Reaves opting out, it's going to be a little bit less. So I've got them with like 48 million. So instead of they can't absorb him outright, but like if they could do something like Vanderbilt and then picks hypothetically, and that's enough to make up the difference with the cap space.
I just, again, that's something that is just insane to me. Like, that is just so insane for me to be the offer. And again, Mark Stein just came out and said we are in a viable option. And then you write the trade down, and that's the part that I think it's tough for fans to kind of accept. But again, I think if you're looking from the front office's point of view, like, hey, we just got Luka Doncic. We are in no rush. Like, this team is kind of capped in what their ceiling is, and so they're looking around and seeing, okay, we could trade a first for this guy. Does it change our, actual ceiling against these top teams like OKC and Denver? And Anthony, I think you said it correctly. Giannis is probably the one player in the league that is worth this, right? Like, I don't think there's another player that's going to be available,
According
which is
to
my
ESPN,
belief.
the last couple of years, Jonathan Kuminga, but outside of him.
Right. That's why I think if Giannis is traded in the next, whenever the deadline is, I think the Lakers pivot. But I think before that, and Yossi, you said something that's kind of scary to me. You said Giannis can threaten to leave in 2027, which would push this a whole nother cycle. I don't know if Miami and the Lakers would wait that long.
I don't think anybody would wait that long.
Milwaukee won't wait that long.
Right. So, but yeah, just so if Giannis comes out this summer and says I only want to go to the Lakers, then the Lakers offer is 3 first plus Milwaukee not having to get any terrible contracts back, right? And how much of a sell, I guess, is that for a team trying to get out of, team in this situation selling, they're selling their star out?
I think at this point I'd be surprised if Giannis was just going to try to push his way to one team. It seems like he's a little more open-minded, and which makes the process a little more realistic if he's trying to get somewhere sooner. Now, obviously, right now, the Bucks will have probably. There's a case. I don't know for sure, but there's a case being made that the Bucks have more options right now because of the time left. Versus once you get to the off season, then Giannis has a little bit more leverage, and maybe he could limit the options a little more. So I would anticipate that, like, they're saying he really likes Minnesota, New York, and Miami. Okay, you could throw in a couple more teams, but if you ask me how the Lakers ultimately would factor into this, they just maybe make one of these other teams that could offer a little bit more, have to trade up a little bit more. So just kind of like leverage is ultimately how I see Lakers or any other team joining, kind of factoring in at this point.
There's also all the there's so much going on here with the Giannis thing. For one thing, if you're Giannis and he has this calf strain thing that's supposed to hold him out for 3 to 6 weeks or something like that. And would you be okay with them shutting you down for the rest of the season, which would benefit Milwaukee the most here? Or would you rather them just trade you and then shut everybody that they get back in return down? So you have that as a factor. The other thing too is you have some teams in the Western Conference that if their season doesn't play out in the way that they are hoping that it plays out, that there are some trade packages there that would absolutely blow the Lakers out of the water. And I think that's the aspect of this whole conversation that has me the most hung up on, right? So if Houston, who I think are eventually going to pick up Mike Conley via buyout, so that would be how they address the Fred VanVleet absence for this season without giving up anything. So if they pick up Mike Conley and they go into the postseason and then they lose in the second round of the postseason and they say, all right, we have KD and we didn't get anywhere near as close as we wanted to the goal that we're all shooting for. Then, do they include Reed Shepherd in a trade? Do they include Amen Thompson? If they include Amen Thompson in a trade, then there's nothing that the Lakers can do to get into that conversation, right? Alperen Şengün is another guy that they could include in a trade that, again, the Lakers, without including Austin Reaves in the trade, there's just nothing they could do to factor into that conversation. From OKC's standpoint, they're about to get really expensive. If they could trade some of the guys who are about to get really expensive for Giannis anyway, and then reset their books, they wouldn't even care if he extended after his current contract. You win another championship or so with Giannis, and if he pieces out because he didn't want to sign an extension with OKC, OKC still has the most draft picks of any first-round draft picks of any team in the league. And if it's just, young players and draft picks that the Bucks are looking for, then the Lakers can't top that kind of offer. The San Antonio Spurs are another team, right, that is in that same boat as well. So, I completely understand where Lakers fans are coming from, where they're like, you have a really bleeping good player in Luka Doncic right now. And I don't care how confident you might be in this upcoming offseason. That is still a lot of ifs that you have to survive to have a chance at Giannis and make punting on this season still worthwhile. I would understand. And frankly, there's probably the bigger part of me is probably saying, hey, see what you could do to improve the team this year and make as good a situation for yourself that intrigues Giannis even more. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the reporting that's out there, some of the whispers that are out there is that if one of the reasons that Giannis is not necessarily as interested in Golden State is because he isn't quite sure about what happens if Steph ages or if he gets hurt later in his career and they don't have any assets left to improve the roster. So it would just be him in the same boat, just further away from Greece, if the Lakers did decide, and this is one thing that I think is worth also mentioning here, Yossi, before if you want to peace out before we get to the star comments, you can. But the Lakers, I'm told, already have plan Bs in place just in case Giannis gets traded. And those plan Bs would be moving some of their expiring salary for longer term deals, draft assets and stuff like that to improve the roster right now. That to me is I would jump to plan B personally if I were Rob Pelinka. That's not how he typically operates. What would be some of the things that you would kind of have your eye out for if the Lakers did jump to plan B here?
Well, I would probably I'm not attached to anybody on the roster. Like right now,
not
honestly,
even Luka?
I would yeah, not even Luka. Yeah. Besides Luka, hypothetically, let's say, first of all, and I don't think that's out there, you can get a Jaren type package for Reeves. I think the Lakers should strongly consider it, get some picks, and not just necessarily to have more picks to trade for Giannis. The problem with the Lakers is their foundation. When you look at teams like OKC, and OKC is a bit of an outlier because that entire 1 through 11 are all defensive positives. But Houston, as another example, San Antonio, just to name a few teams, they've all drafted really well and they have this firm base of players that they can build around. And the Lakers, like, they kind of piecemealed this roster over the years. And obviously when Luka came, they did not have anything prepped. You have to bring him in and then figure out the rest later. Now that process is a lot harder than it's a lot harder to reverse engineer it. So I think the Lakers need to, they fired their scouting department. They're going to bring a new one in. I say put them to work. They need to work really hard finding young players that they can develop and be part of the core, because those players come few and few for the Lakers. Like, the best scouting hits of the past few years are Reaves and Caruso, players they didn't even draft. So more realistically, if you could get like a first round pick, I doubt that's out there, but even just some like multiple seconds for Rui, Aiden, start getting more picks. They only have 1 second round pick, and they have they have very few firsts over the next few drafts. Use your cap space then, if you don't get anyone good, to try to maybe be a facilitator. Get some contracts that might not be favorable to another team, but maybe could fit with you. And if you get picks along the way, great. And I know that's not really congruent with having Luka on the roster, but I just really struggle to see how, with the assets they have and with the lack of talent in free agency, how they're gonna put the right pieces around Luka, especially when considering now teams are trending towards having bigger lineups, more physicality. Like, that's partly why Utah did this. They're going with the trend. They bring in Jaren. Raj, you make really good points about why that lineup might not be all that great, but at least they're like hoarding. You can call trying to hoard size, like what Houston's doing and a bunch of other teams. And that makes it really hard for the Lakers to catch up with the rest of the league. So basically, I think they need to take some steps back in order to go forward, and they just never really operated that way. So just kind of long-winded way of saying I'm not really confident in how they're going to be able to put the pieces together. I think that's where it starts. They are the Lakers. They could find a lot of good talent in free agency. Like, if they can have like an offseason they had in 2019, where they just built the roster out of free agency. Okay, that'd be great if that works out like that. But they also got kind of lucky with some of the guys they got, how much they got out of them. I wouldn't anticipate them having that type of luck again, especially with the rest of the West way more stacked at the top. So yeah, that's what I would look towards getting more picks.
All right. Well, we're going to dive on into the super comments here, Yossi. So if you want to get back to monitoring everything that's kind of going on around the league, you're more than welcome to. Raj, if you want to hop on out and stop talking about the deadline, you're more than welcome to as well. I don't even know what the questions are about. Let me just see what they're about, and I'll tell you if you guys.
I'll stick around for a little bit. If something breaks, I'll probably hop off.
All right. So the first super comment that we have, and before we get to it, we have to play the most important sound on the show. All right. Let's run. UNLV writes, Giannis trade would end the Luka era similar to the Russ trade. Still not athletic enough on the wing. Giannis is injury prone and duplicative of Luka. I think that's mostly only the case if Giannis refuses to set screens for Luka in the way that he seemed to with Dame. Yeah, I am more skeptical of Giannis kind of moving forward than most people who cover the Lakers. Raj, I think you're kind of on the other end of the spectrum here. Where do you stand on this?
Yeah, I mean, they're two top 5 level players that you'd be pairing. I think sometimes we complicate. Now the Russ thing was a terrible thing. I also think Russ just was not Russell Westbrook from 2016 or whatever, whenever he won his MVP. But Giannis to me is still a top 5 level player. Like, I'm seeing some stuff that maybe Minnesota wouldn't throw in, Jaden McDaniels for Giannis or whatever. I think that's overcomplicating. If you're able to pair Giannis with Anthony Edwards or Luka Doncic, I think you do it. He's one of the players, and there's not many, I think you can count on one hand, that are available and that you would wait for. And I think he and Luka would be incredible. I think he would just fit amazingly, and it'd be the best playmaker that he's ever played with. I'd be super high on the fit between those two.
For what it's worth, Russ was 33 when the Lakers traded for him. Giannis is 32 going on 33. So
yeah, I guess so. But
like I think Giannis is going to age better than Russ did. For one thing, I think Giannis is a little bit more self-aware of like the holes in his game than Russ is. He's also significantly bigger. So bigger guys, have that as something that they can kind of lean on as their athleticism wanes. But the biggest thing is like if that is going to work, then whether it's JJ Redick or whoever is going to be the head coach of that team, that coach needs to get those guys to run stuff together. Yossi, from a cap standpoint, if the Lakers do bring in Giannis, I think like one of the less discussed aspects of the Giannis to the Lakers noise is that might be a solid case for trading Reaves either down the line or even in the Giannis deal, just because I think it's really difficult to navigate these cap rules with that much money dedicated to 3 players.
Yeah, I agree. That if they get Giannis, I would say it's like pretty much a certainty they would then try to trade Reeves to either get more draft picks or more likely just not have like a super expensive roster at the top of with your top players and try to have a little more depth around them. That's just the way the league is now. That's why a big reason why the Cavs made the trade they did. They weren't going to be able to give both Garland and Harden another contract, maxish contract, while paying Mobley a big max. Even for a team like the Lakers where money's not an object, it's just kind of inefficient spending at that point.
Well, and what it does to you, like you go above various aprons and it's just such a headache, like the Celtics today with their Simons and Vucevic trade, they finally dipped, under the first apron, which allows them to now take on buyout guys who make more than $14.3 million. Like that is the kind of thing that like you would completely take for granted. Oh, somebody's bought out. Sweet. We can nope. Now we're above the first apron. We can't go out and get that guy. So there's so many of these dumb rules that again are dumb, but they do limit the things that teams can do. So it, like I think a big reason I actually think what the Cavs are kind of doing right now is they're saying, look, if you're going to be a second apron team, it is not sustainable to operate up here for very long. So we may as well just try to absolutely maximize this window while we are above the second apron. And then I bet they let James Harden walk eventually. And I bet they eventually let whoever else they get, just let them go. I actually think they might let Keon Ellis go in the offseason just because that is somebody who might be a little expensive at a position where they already have Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. So to your point, Yossi, it's duplicative spending potentially with Reaves there, but also it just severely limits what you can do from a team building standpoint.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of money for 3 guys. Yeah.
I think the problem that Yossi brought up trading Reaves, Lakers continue to just flip players consistently. I think Austin's finally one player. You said he wasn't drafted, but undrafted here, kind of the first player here that's been in their system since summer league, and so I think there's some value there, and it feels like they're going to try to at least keep him and make him part of the core with Luka. But you have Caruso who's gone, recently Goodwin is gone. Every other young player, either wasn't good or was just traded or let go. I think Austin is finally the one that they're trying to keep. I can't imagine trading him for picks would go over very well. At least right now, we'll see if a Luka Giannis, Austin, trio gets created. But I'd be surprised if that's the route they went right now.
This is a funny follow-up comment here from Let's Run UNLV. The worst of all in acquiring Giannis is that it would enshrine Rob.
Oh,
Can you
there's
imagine how
statue built.
obnoxious the jacket? He would add like he would wear a quad zipper leather jacket. You know, like it would just be the most ostentatious, ridiculous leather jacket to his press conference. And totally deserve to wear it if they were to somehow get Giannis for Jared Vanderbilt and
Rob told me to keep it quiet. Just the same thing.
By the way, Rob. By the way, Raj. One of I think my favorite NBA Twitter moment of all time is watching the replay of you and Vinay reacting live to the Luka trade, and you guys for like 5 straight minutes, like, oh, why this doesn't make sense. It's fake. I watch that every so often.
Oh,
yeah. We all did.
I think my favorite reaction was I think it was Matt Moore and Ryan Blackburn on I think it was Locked On Nuggets was the show that they were doing, and how they were like, no way, Sean's got hacked. He got hacked. He was hacked. Tell me he got hacked, please. Oh, fuck me. Like, it was just so good. It was so honest how they were just like, no. Because that's the one guy. And isn't it correct, right? Isn't the stat correct that like the Lakers haven't lost to the Nuggets since the Luka trade?
They lost they're like 4-1.
I think significantly better, I think.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Harden Garland trade, I don't know if it wouldn't have gotten like the same strong denial as the Luka trade when it's reported, but I feel like if that wasn't leaked out and that just came out Harden for Garland straight up, I would have had some doubts. Like, because I did not think it made sense for the Clippers earlier. I think I'm sure a lot of other teams, people feel that way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still like so for the Great Western Forum pod to like organize our schedules, we have a group text with Pete and Jovan and myself. And I joked in that one. It was like, even if they trade for Giannis, I feel like 2 years from now, we'll be asking that same question of like, does Rob Pelinka believe in Luka Doncic and Giannis Antetokounmpo enough to go all in on that team or on that core? So I could totally see it. You know, I still don't know what he stands for from a basketball standpoint, other than go get superstars. But, you know, we'll see. But all right, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Raj, thank you very much for hopping on to discuss what little we wanted to discuss of that Brooklyn Nets game. Yossi, you run the Third Apron and capsheets.com. You also have that your podcast with Sam Quinn, which I believe is also called Third Apron. Am I correct?
It's all under the Third Apron umbrella.
Yeah. So all excellent content. Anything else that you want to plug before we get you out of here? I know tomorrow is like probably your busiest day of the year, right?
It's up there.
Today is Tuesday, so Thursday.
Yeah. I mean, today was crazy for 2 days before the trade deadline. Usually, like the week of free agency is the peak. But thanks for plugging everything, Anthony. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, Blue Sky. My name, Yossi Gozlan. Now one of the best times of the year to follow me. I'll have instant salary cap analysis as soon as trades happen. I'd even recommend putting me on notifications this week.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, turn on those notifications. And until the next time you guys hear from me, which might be 5 minutes from now, have a great rest of your night. Make somebody else's, and I will talk to you tomorrow.